Chapter 2371, Giant Phantom Reappears. Published by Divine Tao Library. Translator, Salavan and Rykov. Translation checker, Pew Pew Lasergun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. As Yang Kai flew towards that island, his mind was immersed in the jade slip that Ling Yin Chin handed him, reading up on how the spirit purifying array had to be arranged. Even though he had not been exposed to spirit arrays, the jade slip was extremely detailed and easy to read, not to mention that it shouldn't be hard to set up with the array flags. Yang Kai finished his 500-kilometer journey in a dozen breaths, and this was only because he had deliberately slowed his movements in order to study the jade slip. Otherwise, with his mastery of space principles, he could have arrived in just 3 breaths. Looking over, there was in fact a small island worthy of its description. This barren island measured only around 1,000 meters in length, and it seemed to be not much more than a big rock. The sky ahead was clear and cloudless, and the sea was also peaceful. Yang Kai quickly landed and set up the array according to the instructions in the jade slip. After about the time it took to finish a cup of tea, he was done. A layer of light instantly surrounded the island, purifying the air there. The world energy also weakened several degrees. It seemed that even a high-grade spirit purifying array was unable to allow all the world energy to flow through it. From this observation, it was unlikely for even a peak-grade spirit purifying array to be that effective. Yang Kai was pressed for time, so he just did a quick check on the spirit array for any problems before waving his hand to summon Zhang Ruoxi from the sealed world bead. "Sir, I've caused you trouble again." It was clear from Zhang Ruoxi's expression that she was struggling, and the qi surrounding her was as turbulent as boiling water. She apologized to Yang Kai with a guilty look on her face as soon as she appeared. She knew what sort of situation Yang Kai was in right now. Yang Kai simply waved his hand though. "Don't think about anything else, just calm your qi and your mind. Your breakthrough is the most important thing right now. I'll stand guard for you at the side, so let go of all your distractions and focus." Zhang Ruoxi gently nodded and shut her pretty eyes, forming seals with her hands as she silently began her breakthrough. In a few moments, the aura around her body grew fiercer and fiercer, and the saint qi flowing inside her meridians became more and more violent. It was as if the world energy around her had been given life and was all rushing towards her body. But because of the spirit purifying array's obstruction, this world energy was clearly not enough to meet the needs of her breakthrough, which put Zhang Ruoxi in a dilemma. Seeing this, Yang Kai did not hesitate to bring out a bunch of source crystals from his space ring and shatter them, filling the small island with rich world energy. With the help of these source crystals, much of the difficult expression on Zhang Ruoxi's face was relieved. Yang Kai took out batches of source crystals one after another and shattered them within a few moments, so the world energy on the small island was so dense that it had turned into a mist form. Even if Yang Kai stood only 10 meters away from Zhang Ruoxi, he wouldn't be able to see her body clearly anymore. Seeing that things were all right now, Yang Kai stopped. Since awakening her bloodline, Zhang Ruoxi seemed to have changed into a whole new person. Her aptitude was indescribably good, and each time she cultivated, rather than slowly absorbing and refining world energy, it was more like she was simply drinking it down. It was because of this that her cultivation was able to improve so rapidly. The patriarch of the Zhang family back then, Zhang Gaoxuan, obtained a Dao Source fruit from the 5-colored treasure pagoda but ended up severely injured during an assassination attempt against him. Before his death, he asked Yang Kai to head over to the Zhang family and leave a Dao Source pill for the Zhang family's descendants in exchange for the Dao Source fruit. Yang Kai went, and at the time, Zhang Ruoxi's cultivation was only at the Saint King realm. That was just a few years ago, but now she was already breaking through to the Dao Source realm. Yang Kai still had the Dao Source pill he prepared for Zhang Ruoxi, but from the looks of it, she wouldn't be needing it at all. In the past few years, this young and inexperienced little girl had grown into a tall and graceful young lady. For a moment, Yang Kai couldn't help but be filled with emotion. A constant whirring noise could be heard, as if Zhang Ruoxi had turned into a bottomless pit that was constantly drawing in the surrounding world energy. Within a few moments, the dense world energy had once again grown thin. Yang Kai had no choice but to take out more source crystals and shatter them again. After 3 bouts of this, Yang Kai estimated that he had consumed at least 10 million source crystals before Zhang Ruoxi let out a soft moan, which was followed by an indescribable ripple in her aura. She was going to break through. Seeing this situation, Yang Kai didn't dare to stand there and immediately moved away from the island, closely watching her from a moderate distance. This position not only ensured that he would not interfere with Zhang Ruoxi's breakthrough, but it also ensured that he would be able to rescue her if any accidents were to happen. From what could be seen here, the reason why Zhang Ruozai's breakthrough was going so smoothly was because of the 10 million source crystals he brought out, but Yang Kai knew that the real hurdle had yet to be passed. For Zhang Ruoxi, the most difficult hurdle was the world energy baptism. The world energy in this place was filled with endless distortion force, and if it entered her body, there was no telling what would happen. But if she didn't absorb it into her body, then she wouldn't be able to advance. It was a dilemma. Hong long long. A rumble arose, and the sky, which was originally cloudless, turned dark in an instant. A massive, inky cloud formed above the island, converging into a vortex with lightning and thunder moving about inside, revealing the true might of the heavenly way. Yang Kai could not help but get nervous as he looked at the sky. At the same time, on the deck 500 kilometers away, a group of cultivators were standing there and pointing at the island. They obviously thought that this heavenly manifestation was caused by Yang Kai, but they had no idea someone else was the real culprit. Ling Yin-chin was in her room, leaning against the window and looking out. A look of amazement flashed past her eyes and she muttered to herself, the heavenly manifestations appeared. The invocation of a heavenly manifestation meant that someone was going to be baptized by world energy soon, which really meant there was a ray of hope for the success of a breakthrough. Ling Yin-chin suddenly felt like she had underestimated Yang Kai. She previously said that Yang Kai's chances of breaking through were very low, but after seeing such a sight, she understood why he was so confident of his success. But there was still something that made Ling Yin-chin confused. It was the fact that the might of this heavenly manifestation seemed to be lacking. From this distance, she could still tell this phenomenon was quite small. Even though Ling Yin-chin had never seen a cultivator break through to the Emperor realm before, it obviously shouldn't be only this. In another room, Lu Xianyun was also looking out the window, face filled with worry and nervousness, but she did not dare to rashly go over to watch and could only put her hands together with her knees on the ground, praying devoutly for the heavens' blessings. At the same time, 10,000 kilometers away, a sea ship was sailing slowly above the sea. Even though it was 10,000 kilometers away, the people on the ship still noticed the heavenly manifestation up in the sky. A few moments later, the ship suddenly changed course and sailed towards the direction of that island, obviously intent on investigating the situation. Above the island, the dark clouds were as dense as mountains, and thunder was rumbling incessantly. Suddenly, a power blasted straight towards the island from the sky. From the trajectory, it seemed to be striking towards the top of Zhang Ruozai's head. Yang Kai paled slightly, but he resisted the urge to help her. Hong. A loud noise emerged and the mighty power crashed straight into the island, disintegrating the spirit-purifying array that Yang Kai had set up. The array flags and base hidden around the area were damaged, and the light that enveloped the island disappeared at the same time. The high-grade spirit-purifying array was destroyed just like that. Before the world's power fell on Zhang Ruozai's head though, her tender body shook, and a huge illusory phantom emerged from behind her. Yang Kai's eyes widened as he stared straight at this phantom. It wasn't his first time seeing this scene. The giant phantom had appeared once when Zhang Ruoxi broke through back in the Four Seasons realm, but Yang Kai never found out what it was, only guessing it had something to do with Zhang Ruozai's bloodline. Now, looking at it again, the illusory phantom had become more solid than before, but what Yang Kai found strange was the fact that it felt a little hard for him to get a clear look at it. He only knew that this illusory phantom took the shape of a huge woman, one more than 200 or 300 meters tall, which was even bigger than Xiao after his transformation. This woman held a great sword with both hands and with her head lifted high and her feet planted firmly on the ground, she gave off an imposing visual impact. Even though this woman was giant, she was by no means ugly. It was as if a stunning beauty had been magnified countless times. No matter which part you looked at, her body was perfect and flawless. She was just like Zhang Ruozai's guardian, suddenly appearing behind her in this heroic and mighty stance, as if even 10,000 soldiers and 1,000 warhorses could not obstruct her. When the world energy baptism struck her body, it was just like a stone sinking into a sea. Not even creating half a ripple. In the next moment, the illusory phantom raised her head to look at the sky, opened her mouth, and drew in a breath. The power gathered in the sky was sucked directly into her mouth, and in just 3 breaths of time, clarity was restored in the dark sky, the surface of the sea becoming calm once more. Even though he had seen this once before, Yang Kai was still shocked at the sight and was struck speechless for a long time. It was common knowledge that one would be baptized by world energy when breaking through to the next great realm. This is something nobody could avoid. To be able to withstand it allowed one to peek into the mysteries of the next realm, but those who failed either died or ended up crippled. That's how it had always been for Yang Kai all these years. But compared to Zhang Ruozai's breakthrough, Yang Kai felt as if his own breakthroughs were simply weak. The difference was so vast, one could not even place them in the same category. While his mind was still wandering off, the gigantic illusory phantom had already flashed back into Zhang Ruozai's body in an instant. Then, Dao Source Realm aura spread out from Zhang Ruozai's body. Her bones creaked as the power inside her body surged fiercely. Yang Kai felt anxious inside, having no idea if it would be a problem for the illusory phantom to act on her own initiative to swallow up the world energy here. After all, the world energy in this place was filled with disruption force. The illusory phantom must have sucked in that disruption force at the same time that she swallowed the world energy. Yang Kai paid close attention to Zhang Ruozai's reactions and decided that once anything appeared awry, he would bring her into the sealed world bead. But no matter how he looked at her, Zhang Ruoxi didn't seem to look uncomfortable at all. Instead, she had a pleasant expression on her face, seemingly feeling happy about her breakthrough. She was still sitting there with her hands in a seal, which confused Yang Kai greatly.